Your love, I'm gonna make you mine. There's something special about your love. I think it's one of a kind.
Alright guys, we're on our way for another Kissimmee exploration day. I tried to go look at this community in particular that I've been finding a bunch of affordable homes, but I'm kind of just not sure about the surrounding area. Dan passes it going to work literally every week, so I just wanted him to like pay attention to the neighborhood, because apparently it's a neighborhood that you can kind of see from the front, but you have to really drive in to see the actual home.
This is the way that Lisa drives to work, and she doesn't remember that
You drive to work more.
I drive to work more, but I don't go this way to work.
So you don't pass. So how? No, but you have to pass it. You pass.
No,
Trust me, he's gonna be shocked.
Sienna,
He's gonna be shocked when he sees it.
Way.
He's gonna be like, I do pass this all the time. You're gonna be shocked. We'll see. Yeah. So how are you guys doing out there?
Quick update. We got the car back.
Oh yes.
Very well.
Yes.
It's literally only been 24 hours, but
the
I
car
have a really
started.
good vibe
The car
about
started right. Right away, right?
Yeah.
But that had nothing to do with the engine.
It would start, but like you would feel the weakness in the engine. It would sputter sometimes. You could cruise down the road, so someone on the outside wouldn't know until it started doing the white smoke that something was wrong with it. And the mechanic was saying same thing happened to his son. Changed oil on it, and it just.
Oh, so you were suspecting that that's what happened, but that's really what ended up happening.
When the oil, because I heard it also on YouTube that I follow, was like, some of those engines like they go too long, and then you start changing the fluid, but the car is used to running with that like gunked up oil, and then it just mess up things that.
All right, so you guys understand the whole like we are nurses. So when I see these type of things happen, I always put it into like a medical perspective. So there's this thing called collateral circulation, I think it's called. But your body starts to then end up making like passageways from like one artery or one vein to the other, because they're like, oh, there's a blockage, so I'm gonna start going over here on this side. So then when they start to do interventions or changing your medicines and stuff like that, your body's like, wait a minute. Like we got used to this collateral.
Example of that, if someone sees medical, is somebody that has hypertension. Their body gets used to having that high pressure. So if I go and give you a medication now that drops you down to what's normal,
which is what happens to me all the time,
like normal blood pressure, you'll feel faint or weak, and like even have like not syncope. It's faint.
Syncopal episodes. So like when my doctors change my medications, because they're always like, oh my gosh, you have a high diastolic. It's always been high. That's just kind of my natural hypertensive state. So they'll try to add on a new medication, and 9 times out of 10 I'll start to get like dizzy when I get up, and I have those like moments where I'm like I feel like the room is like spinning around me. But it's because my body's been used to like a higher blood pressure. So not to be too medical, but that's kind of like the engine is your heart and stuff like that. So it's crazy how a simple oil change can like affect the car so much, because we were told to do an oil change when we purchased the car. They were like, oh, just do an oil change whenever you get a chance. And as soon as we did that, that's literally when
it's basically the engine is already gone bad though, because it's basically saying that like no, that like real fresh oil is rolling through. It might have been papering, that gunky oil might be papering over things that have already gone wrong with the engine. And then that fluidity, like that like thinner viscosity just messes everything up. But listen, I'm not a mechanic. Wish I was more mechanically inclined,
but we're learning, and I think that's what's important. It's important to learn. I've always said like I would take like one of those like community college like mechanics 101 class.
The mechanic was actually saying that he wants to do that,
like teach.
Yeah, he wants to do something with the Boys and Girls Club to get them to like learn more like.
Yeah, can I say this guy seems like a really like genuinely like, this is my trade, this is what I do, I respect my industry, I take pride in my industry, and because I asked him to look at this car, and because we had an issue that we got repaired, and money was spent, but we're still having like the issue, and he was like, hey, I think you should go call, it's just to be under warranty. How many mechanics are gonna say that? They're gonna be like, oh, come, yeah, bring it, I'll fix it, even though they know that there's a potential that it will be covered underneath the warranty. And it might not be covered because of what part of the engine it is. A special like show of someone's character is that they're just like a genuine, like, yeah, if it's not covered, bring it back to me.
Listen,
oh yeah,
learn a trade. That's all I can tell you. Learn a trade.
So all right, so like my parents, nursing
actually sits in a weird place. It sits in a place of a practice that's gonna be like respected as like, like a professional, working professional. But it's also a trade. It's a skill.
So you know what? There's some people that are gonna say like, no, I am an educated person. I went to school. I went to 4-year school to do.
So what that implies though is that a mechanic or an electrician or a plumber or all of those people are not.
Is not, and that upsets me. You know,
can get into the trade. You still have to go back and recertify and get how many certifications to work on this car, that car, upgrades, this, that. You have people that go on further in plumbing to do this type of plumbing, that type of electrician, have higher certifications and more things to do. So I don't like, my whole thing is, I think our generation was sold this like, you have to go to college, and it's not that I'm knocking going to college. I'm actually saying do both. Like, go to trade school, find even a 1-year trade, have that skill.
This is something that I always said, like, people that went away to like university, the ones that knew how to do school and barber, they used to get paid. Like, people would be like, yo, can you cut my hair? Even if it's at $10 or whatever. Do a 5 cuts on a day that you're not like going to school or something like that. That's $50 in your pocket that you wouldn't have necessarily. I'm just saying, like, that's the people that braid, when there were girls at school that knew how to braid, and they were like, yo, I don't have to go back home. Like, people in Gainesville, like, not saying that you couldn't find a hairdresser in Gainesville, but they were far and few. Listen, so if you were a student that knew how to do that,
learn how much. Go find out how much your nail tech make and see if you're going ramp with them people.
The braiders, some of them start at $150. Okay, and my hair thick. Can you imagine how much they would charge? So, my head is big, plus I have thick hair.
Worse if you're going away to like college and you're not quite sure what you want to do yet. You just know you want to go to. You might go there with that skill and then go do business management or something, and then you can manage your business. So that like was your barber, your beautician, your plumbing, your electrician, your truck driving, your whatever it is, right? Go to those schools and get a trade under your belt, and then you can do whatever you want. It takes a year.
All right, so barbering is, I can't speak for sure on what they learn in the school, right? But you can have a skill in like cosmetology and stuff like that to do something, but they're also kind of pushing that element of like work for somebody, right? Own a chair in somebody else's shop. That's why you do the business degree, in order to teach yourself, or they teach you how to run the business, what were right?
We were taught go get the business degree,
and then what?
And then what? You're going to manage somebody
You're going to work for
somebody
else's business.
Exactly. And you're going to manage them becoming rich rather than become your own. Even if you work for, it's not that like Dame Dash, like, oh, you should be ashamed of yourself if you work for somebody. It's more of when you are a skilled laborer like that, right? Like you have some kind of skill, like working skill like that. Even when you do a job for someone, right? Like if you're a roofer, if you're a this, you're a that, right? When you have the ability to be a contractor, so outside of those hours that you work for somebody, you can go do independent work. Also, when you're there, those people have to take a little bit more time with you than your run of the mill, like, oh, well, anybody with that degree I can get, when there's so many people being pushed to take that degree. I mean, there was not this is a joke online, but like that was circulating where they were trying to pay somebody like I think it was like $15 an hour, and they had like a master's degree. You needed a master's degree or something. And it's like, that's insane. That's insane. Because that person has racked up, I don't know how much money they paid for that school or how much debt they've racked up trying to get that
average are about
master's
each year.
So that's
each
crazy.
year, okay? Some of these master's programs are 2-3 years.
So it doesn't have to be what you want to do for the rest of your life. You might take go do whatever and become a barber, and that pay for you to go through med school if that's what you want to do, or law school, or whatever it is, right? But they can't take that skill away from you, and you can take that skill with you usually numerous places. So I am going to push with my kids. They go to and get a trade. It's very important. I think it's undervalued, and that's why these skills are now going by the wayside, and you're paying so much money, and we'll have so much weird interactions with these big huge companies because the skills are not being pushed. You know, you'll be pushed to go get a business administration degree, and it's like, a business administration to manage what business? What are you getting that job?
I have a minor in business administration because I knew I always wanted to have a business, and you know, we have our business that my skills, you know, that I put like my education into that, you know.
I want you to picture this though. How do you think it would have went had you gone to nursing school, got that year done, and then went to college?
So I went to Corey Senior High School in Miami. It's a magnet school, and they had a medical magnet. I was in the business magnet, but they had a medical magnet. If I remember correctly, if they did certain certifications and all that stuff, and they could end up with their LPN, right? I know someone else that did it at another Miami high school, and she has an LPN
class. I was 18. And, she ended up,
but like she finished high
with
school.
Us,
but she finished high school, and then
hopefully she came back and finished, because she was like 2 classes away from finishing. So I hope she didn't give up. It's bad that we never really kept up with Bree, but Bree was 18. I was like, yo, even if you don't advance beyond this,
like I said, like Marsha knows somebody that had her LPN from she was in high school. So I don't know if my father really would have been like, oh yes, you know, work as an LPN and go to school at the same time, especially if I was like to go away to UF. That probably, you know, probably not, but imagine that I would have been a nurse for 20 years already. If you could finish school, right?
But how long were you at UF?
4 years.
So even if you never stepped foot and did anything for the 4 years, I can't take away your license as long as you keep it up. So
that's true.
Well, how would it have hurt?
That's true. Because okay, with the LPN, with the RN, you don't have, what's going on? For the LPN, RN, different from like the nurse practitioner degree is you don't have to have a certain amount of hours, right? You just have to continue your CUs. You have to keep them current every year. So you don't technically have to work. You just have to keep your CEUs current. So nurse practitioner is a little different because they have to have a certain amount of hours, and then if they don't have those hours, then I think they have to retest
that's also
or something
like a master's degree, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So as an LP, I could have, like you said, that is actually very smart. I could have been like, well, I've been an LPN for 4 years, and then as soon as I finished school, if I didn't find a degree that kind of spoke to my spirit more than the LPN, that's when I could have entered in the LPN field, and then I could have like, well, you know, or in 2 years of UF and been like, oh, well, let me do the LPN to RN at like, you know, at another university or something like that. Yeah. Trust me, I feel like there's a bit of pressure when you are 18 and you're like, oh well, I have a career, right? Imagine being 18 years old and be like, I have a career. A lot of people don't have that. They're like, oh, I have a job, right? And that was something that was important to my father, was like paying for whatever degree that's going to give us a job, but not only a job, a career at the end of the day. And a lot of degrees, unfortunately, in the United States don't prepare you for that. They prepare you for the degree.
This is just me being controversial, but I think school up here is meant to breed, and in a lot of countries, not just in the US,
I know what he's gonna say.
They're meant to breed workers.
Yeah.
They're not meant to
which
necessarily
is, but,
just educate.
But that's okay.
But to educate the workforce.
People are meant to work for other people.
Some people.
Yeah, but not everybody.
The people that are necessarily supposed to be the next. That's why all those things are seen as like these big success stories. When somebody becomes a business owner or entrepreneur, because that's not what they're trying to foster. They're not trying to foster the next CEO. They're trying to foster the guy that's going to work under the CEO, or the guy that's going to work in the office in the cubicles. And, you know, like, there was something that was said about one of my nephews that's like, oh, they're trying to turn him into a little worker bee and whatever. And I'm like, but that's what the system is meant for. You know, like, that's what they want. They don't want a bunch of bosses. And it's not sinister in the fact that, like, I get what Lisa's saying. Like, it's not sinister in the fact that, like, oh, they're the secret. The NWO is just trying to keep us all down. You can't have too many chefs in a kitchen, right? You need a structure of people to be. So we were talking about trades, right? Yeah. So you go to school and you become a roofer by trade or whatever. I'm not sure if there's actually like an actual program for like roofing. Okay, let's say plumbing, right? There's some people that are like, I want to work for Johnny Bobby Chris Plumbing Corporation because I don't want to run a business. I don't want to do the bookkeeping of it or whatever. So you have a skill that is just like, look at us in nursing,
right?
We don't want the management, or you definitely don't.
I'm like anti-management,
right? Yeah, because you're like, yo, I want to do my 12 hours and I want out of there. I don't want them call me and tell me to come in.
I clock out.
That's it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. But there are some people that are like, oh, I want to have a nursing agency. I want to be a nurse entrepreneur and own a CPR training course. So there's a lot of things in the trade, you know, because like I said, there's nurses that are going to be like, I am not a trade. I went to school, you know, for 4 years to become a nurse. Go ahead, perfect for you.
But you are educated. Don't take it as a disrespect to be called a trade. But stop
saying it as the trade people are not educated because they went to school. They were educated. They had an apprenticeship or whatever in some sorts, but there's some that don't have to have an apprenticeship. They went and did their hours or whatever.
And if nurses do this, we don't stick together as nurses. There's a lot of nurses that don't.
So we're reaching the area of the area. Okay, so it's this right here.
So yeah, what I was interjecting with is like, look at my friend, right? My friend went to Sheridan with me, right? And actually did catering at Sheridan first. Went into that.
Sorry guys.
I think it's one of a kind. There's something special about your love. I want it all the time. You will always be my inspiration.